morning and welcome to the TSL Podcast. Steve Mayeda. We're talking here from Austin, Texas. Out on our morning hike. It's December 9th, 2017. We're talking about sex. We're talking about pleasure and sex and what we have made it. See, because when we take the pleasure out of sex and we make sex something like a cause, or we objectify sex and use it as an object, not just in men looking at women and objectifying them, but that's one part, but also as other people objectifying sex and making it a platform to speak on, a reason to be victimized, or something that somehow has now made them different other than just being a man or a woman or full of pleasure or biology or those things. See, we pour so much of all this other story on this beautiful, beautiful thing that we call sex. And that's what I'm talking about. What we're going to get into today is a lot, man. We're going to get into stuff that we talk about a lot. Feminism. We're going to talk about things like the men's movement, the men's rights movement, the red pill dudes, the mgtow people, and how everybody in that means well. They mean well. People who have been traumatized by sex, people who have been treated unfairly by sex mean well, but somehow we're getting away from our nature. And isn't that the interesting thing that we all want to get towards, is to our nature? In any case, guys, the TSL Podcast has been around for a long time. We have 800 videos on this channel. I want you to be a part of it. We also have the Daily Awesome Podcast, which is on our sister channel. Now, 130 episodes are on this station, but we also have another station on YouTube where we talk about all that sort of good stuff in men's development. But the most important thing is these video blogs or different tutorials or webinars that we post on the YouTube channel. They're going to help you out a little bit. They might help you out a lot a bit. They might help you out a huge amount, but what's going to help you out most is if you get involved with what we do. So we have tons of free stuff on the free stuff link. We also have video courses, we have PDFs, we have groups, free groups that you can be a part of, and we also have our products. I want you to get involved. If you want to change and better yourself, free stuff link. Download that. It's our gift, man. We love working. We work 24 hours, 7 days a week in our communities, and things like MD Excellence or TSL Online. That's going to help you. So let's get into this. So this all came about with one of our clients, our TSL members, and he's talking about erectile dysfunction, sexual dysfunction. Man, there's a lot that is going into this podcast. It's just off the top of my head, but I've been doing this a long time, 11 years, people. So hopefully it comes off good. Doesn't always. But so he's talking about that, and that he can't find the pleasure, he can't find the feeling, and sex to him has become all this stuff. It's become that it's got to be a girl with big boobs, that it's the porn that's attacking him, that it's like how women act, it's that a certain type of adoration, and it's this definition that is in his head of what his body likes. Yet the whole time, as I told him, I said, man, but your thing is your body, your mind, your emotions, your born-to-be nature is telling you, it's saying, man, I yearn for this thing. I yearn for this connection. I yearn for this pleasure. But because I can't have it, the definitions come into play. Erectile dysfunction. Yet able to have sex successfully some of the time, but not other times. Judgment of people, categorization of people, all the same things that we see when women become sexless, when men become sexless. And then when we take a step back, as I told him, I said, man, look at our culture. Look at our culture. We have men that don't feel sexual. They don't feel masculine. They don't have their foundation to stand on. They need all these definitions of being alpha, of having dominance. And why do we need that dominance? Why do we need all those definitions? We didn't need to before, but the bigger and more complex our society gets, the more we feel robbed from them. And it's our pain telling us, it's our without dominance, it's our absence of that. In the scene of it with other people, we go, holy shit, man, that guy's alpha as fuck. That guy's clear, that guy's thinking right away. He's able to say something. He's able to stand up for himself. Man, he's good with women too. Geez, he's dominant. He doesn't take shit from women. These are the traits I need to learn. These are the traits a boy who has no skill, a 2-year-old trying to be an 18-year-old is trying to pick up on, right? And so we're looking at that over and over again, and this becomes our map, and this becomes men's development. And more we get this cascade of frustrated men, angry men. They get divorced. They buy into Everybody Loves Raymond, the cultural, Disney things. And then we start blaming Disney and Raymond on our fucked up lives because we're not responsible for ourselves. And we go, shit, I got fucked. Man, and then I went into the court system, which fucks us. And then I'm pissed off. So I search online and I fall into the Reddit forums and I go, oh my God, there's a movement of men. And man, let me tell you, if you ever meet some of these guys, they're the biggest pussies you have ever met. It's fucking awesome. It's fucking great. And I get that some of them aren't, but man, a lot of them are. It's a beautiful thing to see. The pasty boy, doughboy body, the confused man, the sad, angry man that can't deal with his own anger, ranting about men's rights. And it's the same thing as feminism. You know, ranting about women's rights. And guess what? Men are fucked in this country. When it comes to custody, when it comes to how we work culturally, how we're looked at and all this sort of stuff. I won't go so far as to say there's a war on men. Men are fucked. Guess what? Women are also fucked. And guess what? Men get privilege. And guess what? Women get privilege. And we get it all in different ways. And just because one gets some amount of privilege and the other gets some amount of privilege and the other gets screwed in one way and the other doesn't or does or whatever in the other way, doesn't negate the other. And see, that's what we're doing. And we've made man and woman that. We have turned sex into something that isn't biological, but that's still there. That isn't pleasure, but that's still there. But before we get to biology, pleasure, and expression of our body, our minds, and how we feel, guess what we've turned sex into? We've turned sex into a political cause, a reason why you should listen to me, a reason why my pain is better than your pain, a reason why my feeling deserves more attention than yours. And why would somebody say that? Why would somebody say that their feeling needs more attention than somebody else's, or my pain is more than yours? Probably because you weren't heard, you weren't listened to. You weren't given the fundamental connecting attributes or phenomenons of empathy. Somebody hasn't shared with you. Somebody hasn't felt with you. And when you don't feel with somebody, you have pain as a human. You should check out a speech I made called The Myth of the Alpha Male. So in 2014, I did it, and actually, 20 plus years ago, I read a book called Ishmael, and it changed my perspective on a lot of stuff, and I still believe in that. And it went into my coaching and social dynamics and so on of how I teach and what I believe. And there's a ton of different stuff, but you could also read Sex at Dawn, great book, which breaks this all down and blows a lot of holes in the pseudoscience of feminism, of a lot of the men's rights stuff. And anyway, it's good stuff. And so the thing is that we have made sex something that isn't an expression of our nature. Yet when we come back to this, let's think of this, is that every time men's rights or the red pill or mgtow, well, maybe not mgtow, feminism says, well, the nature of humanity is this. And somehow when we know the nature of humanity and our true nature is men, because this is what it is, then it can't be argued and we could plug it into society and we get this crazy distortion of what somebody says. And we're living in a distortion. Our society is a distortion, but we have to live that way. But the interesting thing is our nature was not as men to be more powerful than people, to dominate them, to oppress them. Our nature as women wasn't to be more powerful than men and whatever this battle is. What our nature was is that we lived together and we saw the value in both. And that when we had connection, it was key. And if you really want to get into this, you definitely check out something like Sex at Dawn or Ishmael, or even if you want to go down a different rabbit hole, Saharasia, which is a different philosophy, totally getting to a different point, a Reichian philosophy. But if you look at our nature, it was that if we saw somebody, we wanted to connect to them rather than go to war with them. If we saw somebody, we didn't need a definition of power. And that actually the roots of abuse, of power, of genocide, of all these things, man, weren't probably what you're looking for or what society tells you it is. But the roots of it came from an overstructuring of population. Agriculture was a part of it, but it doesn't mean that agriculture can only create that. But if you want to look at our nature and what we are, it was very, very different of how we lived. And there's tons of evidence on that. Ideas like hypergamy, ideas like, that come to do with the whole patriarchy philosophy and all these things. These are things which consistently come out of a society that has scarcity, that has people who aren't heard, that has people who are disempowered, who feel that whatever they do, it isn't happening. That now we have a war on men, that now we have a war on women, that now we have a war that we have to fight for in order to express ourselves, and everything's got to be a big deal. So if I'm a feminist, that it gives me the right to be in somebody's face and force the issue, or if I'm a men's rights activist, it gives me the right to talk shit or broadcast my opinions to everybody, and that if you don't agree with them, then you're against me. This is the most non-human philosophy that we could have. because what humanity brought us together with was to connect, to have empathy, to have seduction, the age-old things that evolved us before we were actually Homo sapiens in humanoid form for millions of years doing that. The moment that we take pleasure out of sex, the moment we take biology out of sex, the moment we stop listening to our bodies and our emotions, our minds, and what truly is propelling us sexually, that beautiful pleasure of connection that we want, which is making us turned on and aroused and not being ashamed of that, the moment we can get in touch with that, the moment that we can find peace within ourselves. Guys, girls, whoever's listening to this out there, sex will heal you. Let it heal you. Let it be a part of you. Let it express who you are. And in order to express who you are, you don't need a cause. You don't need power. You don't need a struggle. You don't need a fight. You don't need an enemy. What you need is your sex. And if you're a man, that's your masculinity. In any case, Steve Mayeda signing off. Guys, if you want to learn how to have better sex and connect with people, Free Stuff link. That's where we go. That's where we interact. If you want to really step it up, Men's Development Excellence. Even right now in December, while this is going on, there's a sale for that. And if this is something that you really, really enjoy, check out the videos I've suggested at the end of this, as well as subscribing to this channel and being a part of what we do, because living the sexual life means being free. Man, a well-fucked man doesn't talk shit. In any case, I'll talk to you guys soon. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for watching. Later.